So, stop me if you've heard this before. Cases of fraud continue to rise in this country, and sadly, more in Quebec, it seems, than just about anywhere else. So, this is Fraud Prevention Month. This is the moment we're supposed to learn about fraud and how businesses are working to prevent it. And as I said, it's a problem that's getting worse, not better. And I'm sure AI is only going to make it even worse. Marta Reszowska is Vice President of Products at Moneris. She is on the line right now. Marta, thanks so much for being here today.
Happy to be here. Thank you.
Can I start with this number because this is the one that really jumps out at you? You wrote that fraudulent activity in Canada increased 13% in 2023. That's bad enough. But then the year-over-year increase here in Quebec was almost 50%. How is this happening?
Correct. So I will preface that with these are the numbers of reported cases. So there might be fraud that's going unreported in other parts of the country. But yes, that is quite a large number. And we have definitely seen some trends in what's driving some of that 50%.
Okay. And what are those trends specifically?
So one of the common ones, and this is actually across the entire country, but the most common instances that are driving some of these upticks in fraud is what we call modal fraud, or also known as mail order and telephone order. Basically, picture you call a local business and they say, hey, by the way, would you mind just giving me your card number over the phone? I can key that into my terminal. Or if they ask you to put that on a piece of paper, maybe you jot it down when you walk into the store, put it on a little sticky note. Those types of transactions are the number one most common driver of fraud across the entire country, Quebec included.
Okay, I'm confused. So it's called mail order, telephone order. Can you describe a situation? How would that work? I'm ordering something online from someone. What does it mean?
So let's say you call into somebody's contact center and they say, hey, would you mind giving me your card number? Or you call into a local restaurant and say, hey, I'm not actually able to drive in.
Okay.
Would you mind if I just give you my card number and place my order for whatever dinner you're going to be sending over to me?
Right.
That would be an incident of, it's a fairly high risk transaction because you don't really have a way of being able to authenticate that person. So you don't have that terminal to be able to use that PIN and authenticate them that way. And you're not using a legitimate website for that cardholder to authenticate themselves in real time. So it is the most common cases of fraud and it is the highest risk.
Okay. And again, I remain confused. If I'm calling a restaurant to order something, let's say I'm not working through a service like Uber Eats where I can trust whatever information is there. I'm calling that store directly. I'm ordering something. The person on the other end is asking me for my number. Then it becomes a problem. But I already know the store I'm calling. Couldn't it be just simply a matter of saying, wait a sec, I called your store. I gave you that number. Now we know where the fraud might have occurred?
Well, you can't even necessarily say that because you don't necessarily know who else is listening around. So it's just anytime that we're talking to someone about just don't provide your card numbers over the phone. Ideally, move away from anything where you're jotting it down on a piece of paper because you don't know who else is watching. And it could be somebody else that's standing in the storefront. Maybe they are able to overhear a phone conversation. So just to move away from all of that.
Okay. Do you want to take a
more secure
go ahead.
messages?
I was going to say, do you want to take a wild guess why that number would be so radically higher here than it is in the rest of the country? Because to your point about, these are just cases that are reported, the same would apply here, right? Even in Quebec, perhaps they're not all reported, yet our numbers are so much higher. Any idea why that would be?
I wouldn't be able to say. So all I can report on is what our data is showing us. And Quebec is number 2, actually. So Saskatchewan is much higher at 75%.
Oh.
But again, all we're able to say is that these are reported cases. So it could be that business owners are on top of it in Quebec. They're able to catch this a lot sooner. But again, it's reported cases.
Okay. Beyond this mail order, telephone order, what are other sort of specific fraud examples or issues that are going on? Where are people getting ripped off?
So number 2 most common, and this is across Canada, but it's also the number 2 most common in Quebec, is account takeover. So this could be something like an employee that takes over an account, or it could be that somehow somebody's gotten access to your information, to your systems, and they've been able to take over. It could also be somebody's gotten access to a cardholder's card information. So they're They're essentially taking over their accounts. So with your Uber example, for instance, if somebody takes over your logins, they're using your account on your behalf, that could be a method of account takeover.
Okay.
So protect your passwords.
Yeah. So I was going to say, what do you do to prevent something like that happening? You're suggesting, I know they've been talking about this forever, right? Change your password, update it on a regular basis. Is that the extent of it?
Very much so.
Okay.
Exactly. So for business owners, especially if we're thinking about something where you have either a portal or a terminal where you're taking secure card information, make sure you're not sharing passwords. Don't share them amongst employees. Have unique passwords. Make sure that you're using the tools on your terminal, such as login pins, and you're not disabling some of that functionality. If it's on a website, same thing. Make sure that you're using the passwords and you're not sharing them amongst employees. Two-factor authentication, those tools are available, so making sure that you just don't disable them. And then for card holders, it's the same thing. Just make sure that you protect your passwords and you're not sharing them with anybody else.
Good advice, simple advice, and still we're getting ripped off on a regular basis. All right. I thank you so much for your time. Appreciate it.
Happy to be here. Thank you.
All right, there you go. A couple of tips for what not to do. It's funny, though, because when I said I didn't understand how that worked, if you're calling a restaurant, you're giving them the number, you know who you're calling, but she said, you know what, there's people standing around. It's not just the person you're talking to on the phone. Makes sense.